Welcome back to On the Record. We're here at the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference, and I'm with Paul Hoffman, who is the Senior Director of Cloud Products. Is that correct?
Cloud Solutions, that's right.
Or Solutions, sorry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, you're with Ingram Micro. I don't know if I
right.
said that.
Yes.
But that's pretty important, I would say.
Yeah.
So, a couple years ago, I went in. I spoke with a whole bunch of people at the high level at Ingram about where they're going with the cloud, and they actually asked me to come in and talk to them about where it should be, and they were totally going nowhere at that time. Now you're running a whole division on it. What is it doing?
Well, that's what we had our big show about 2-3 weeks ago, the Cloud Summit, and I think that's a testament to where we're going with it, right? Is that it's a dedicated group where about 70-80 people focus on doing cloud solutions, and what we've done is we've developed this whole focus towards bringing cloud to the market. So going into the Cloud Summit, we had 46 different solutions from about 20 different vendors. After the Cloud Summit, we had 103 solutions from 40 different vendors. So the real focus is on building a broad breadth of capability within the cloud marketplace for all our VARs and resellers to go to market with. The neat thing is that any one of our VARs and resellers can come to us, and with one agreement with us, excuse me, can offer any one of those 103 solutions to their customers.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. Like, I mean, even when I was back there and talking to them, the real thing, like everybody said, oh well, distribution's not going to be needed anymore, and why do it? And you should get out of distribution. But you have such great relationships with the vendors, and you have such great relationships with the VARs. It makes sense that you're the person that's going to actually feed this out.
Well, and that's the natural tendency when you first get into doing this, is that, you know, I come from the service provider space in my past, and my first thought about distribution and cloud is why bother as well. But the real value to it is that when you offer one or two cloud solutions, you can go direct to that vendor. You can negotiate your SLAs, negotiate your margin, work through all that. When you start getting to 4, 5, 6 solutions, it becomes very cumbersome. And for our VAR reseller who doesn't have dedicated staff to manage that, to do contract negotiations, to do the due diligence on the provider, to understand what their SLAs are, to understand how they do disaster recovery, how do they do incident management, all those components, it's very challenging for somebody whose business is servicing their customer.
Yeah, and I think over time though, you know, you're going to see such a big morphing of what a real good profitable reseller is going to look like in the sense that now they can do managed services and look forward and see what's actually going on and fix it before it becomes a huge problem. And with the cloud, you know, with the apps and so on, now it gives them a way that they can be on the business side and talk to their customers through a business way.
Yeah, we see really the evolution of two types of VARs and resellers. One are brokers who are looking to pass on a service to their end user and really not stay involved though in the service itself. And then those who want to be service providers who take cloud solutions, package it together with what they have, and then they're offering that packaged solution to their end customer. The nice thing that the cloud does from the standpoint that we're offering it is they can quickly and easily add any of those solutions without having to staff up, without having to add a lot of infrastructure, and quickly go to market on those services.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's going to be probably millions of apps out there, and what the nice thing is that I see is that they're going to need somebody who because most resellers or solution providers or whatever you want to call them are dealing with, you know, they might be dealing with a lawyer one day and an architect the next day, and next day a retail place. You know, it's all over the place. They're never going to be able to understand and get what each app does. And that's where I think Ingram would come in and say, well, here's the ones that we know works for these industries and where it comes.
Absolutely, and one of our goals is to not be this laundry list of services, right? We don't want to be there so somebody it's almost harder for them to pick from what we offer than it is to just go out on their own. So what we're going to do is we develop categories that we focus our solutions on, and then with each category we're going to have 2 or 3 top tier service providers that we'll offer. We may break that further down as maybe there's a high-end, a medium, and a low-end solution. As an example, like a hosted voice. You might have a hosted voice for the medium and large segment, and then a hosted voice for the low-end segment, maybe 25 seats or less. But we'll have only 2 or 3 top providers within that we'll do the due diligence on, we'll work through and understand, and then those will be our recommended providers. So that gives the VAR reseller the opportunity to go, okay, maybe I don't like working with provider A, but B or C are good choices, and then let me pick which one is the best. I know Ingram's done the due diligence, but from that I can get one of my good choices.
Or even on the other side, if they have no idea what's going on, and they know they need a solution, they can come to you and.
Absolutely. Well, an interesting thing is, so we recently announced a partnership with Salesforce.com, and we were talking to a company at our Cloud Summit about that and about our distributing the Force platform, and these guys were an SI. And they said to us, wow, we've never been able to resell Force. You mean you could actually give us the opportunity to make margin on our Force solutions that we're selling? And they were really excited because this gave them an opportunity to make more revenue on something they were already doing.
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, I thought, and this is what I talked to them about way back then, it makes 100% sense to keep a distributor in the middle because they're going to do so much, but obviously a distributor has to change and do what what you're actually doing now.
Absolutely, and that's a few things. One of the things I mentioned earlier is we have a focused organization, so that gives us the capability to build up that cloud expertise and that cloud knowledge base and the team that can help the VARs and resellers understand what the solutions are. There's a lot of training involved. We do, in any given 20 workday month, we'll do 30 plus interactions with our VARs and resellers in terms of webinars, on-site trainings, things with our vendors where they come help them understand the solutions. So we really understand that it's an evolving marketplace, and it's a lot of the impetus is on us as a distributor to help them get to where they need to go in terms of cloud solutions.
So let me ask you a question, hypothetical. Okay? If you had to pick one VAR to be and clone it, what they look like, but you had a choice between a VAR that has almost no understanding of technology, but he's a great business person, or you have a person who is a fabulous IT person, but doesn't have the faintest idea of how to run a business.
It's an interesting question. I don't know that I could give a definitive answer, because there's attributes to both that are positive, and I know that's why you sort of asked the question. The guy who's and they fall into different models with us, right? The guy who's the business knowledgeable person, he's going to tend to be a broker with us, and so he's a guy who loves the fact that I can bring solutions to market, and I don't have to understand the technology that well. I just have to know that's a backup solution, that's a monitoring solution. I don't have to know the details of it. I just know it can do what my customer needs. The guy who's the IT expert, he cares. How does that remote monitoring solution work, and does it do mobile device management too, and does it do end device wiping, and all the little details of that solution he wants to understand and know. But again, he can go to market without necessarily having to be a great business guy, because he can package all the solutions in a way that adds the value that's almost self-evident.
I think you cheated. On that note, thank you very much for being on the record. Is there any last points that you do want to get out there before we say goodbye?
Just that we think it's an exciting point in time for distribution and cloud services in general. We think the market's going to explode, and that, when I said we have 103 solutions now, I would expect if we're talking again next year, we're going to have 2 to 3x that number of solutions, and we're not going to be talking about how we do distribution as a cloud services company. We're going to be talking about how that's changed the market dynamics and how companies go to market.
I agree, absolutely on that. When's the next cloud show?
We're going to have the next annual summit. We're targeting in April. We do one a year. We did the last one in Scottsdale this past June. Yep. While Scottsdale was a wonderful venue, it's a little warm, so we were going to push it back a little earlier in the year next year.
All right. I'll bet you end up having more than that in the year after that.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Thanks very much for coming on the show. Thank you.